Yes, welcome back again, class, to Grade Cove Life Sciences. Today we want to talk about allopatric speciation, geographic isolation, the formation and emergence of new population species as a result of geographic isolation, as a result of various barriers that can separate a single population into different population segments. So I have got some nice typical visible displays that I'm going to use in this presentation, which are going to make the understanding of this chapter very easy and interesting. What we are going to do today is there are nice notes, teachers hand out notes that I pasted here, and as well as also the photographs that we are going to see here, pictures. So you shall see individuals of the population are separated from each other by natural barriers, which these barriers can be quite a lot of them. We are saying these barriers can be a Gulf Coast, can be a desert, can be an ocean or a river, can be a mountain range, all forms of such things. They can divide populations into different groups. So as time goes on, evolving will take place, resulting in formation and emergence of new population species. So as you can see from this diagram here, is typically one of the key flows that I'm going to use here. So without wasting any time, I want you to understand that population development or a new species formation, it is a result of variation. It is as a result of uh, absence of gene flow. This gene flow, which is caused because of reproductive isolation, results or it causes development of new population species. So let me just start from the very first uh, presentation, the very first notes that we need to look at. What is variation? Because for us to understand the population development or a species emergence, we also want to establish an understanding into genetic variation. Genetic variation, what is it? So this is the difference in the DNA sequence among individuals within a population within a population or species. Remember to say when we are looking into a population or a species, we are looking at organisms that are able to interbreed, that have got the same genome, and as a result, they are identical. So what we are saying is differences in the DNA sequence among individuals within a population species uh, or in a population or a species is what we call variation. It is very crucial for evolution. Remember, we are still under evolution. So variation is actually one key factor that is responsible for evolution. Remember, we've been talking about the development of new population species from existing population or from existing individual population. So what we want to understand here is that evolution and speciation, these are one and the same thing, which we are saying we need to understand that based on the basis of variation. What is genetic variation? Which actually we understood and accepted previously that if evolution is basically based on natural selection. So natural selection, it is premised on the variation of different organisms or variation of a population species, the differences in their genetic makeup. So what we are saying is this they provide it actually variation actually provides the raw material for natural selection. It actually provides the basis of natural selection. Natural selection, it is built under what it is actually possible because of variation and also adaptation. So variation, it encompasses differences in genes. We are saying it encompasses differences in genes, it encompasses differences it encompasses differences in what? In genes of organisms, also known as alleles. I'm sure I remember to say alleles is just a variation, is a variation of a gene. the variation of a gene is what we call alleles. So this actually is a key factor in the diversity of life. So if you want to talk about biodiversity, if you want to talk of the differences that exist among us, the population species, which we can define as biodiversity and so forth, it is actually understood that it is actually supposed to be understood that variation, it is actually the premises from which all these will come from. So the differences in genes or alleles of a population species, it is actually a driving force towards biodiversity or towards the variety of life on Earth. So I want us to look at variation is caused by what? Which we are saying causes of variation, causes of variation. What are the causes of variation? One, crossing over during prophase one. This is a key. This one is also supposed to be taken note of. For example, as we come towards our national examinations, identify the major causes of genetic variation crossing over during prophase one of meiosis, which involve exchange of genetic material leading to new combinations of maternal and paternal genetic material in each cell. So crossing over is one of the causes of genetic variation. Crossing over, that we talk about the exchange of genetic segments between homologous chromosomes. So actually, it leads to new combination of the parental genetic material from both the mother and the father. So gametes resulting or new gametes resulting from what? From meiosis. So meiosis actually it provides a foundation. It provides uh, it actually causes genetic variation because of crossing over that takes place during prophase one. So in other words, we have answered two questions. What causes genetic variation? Crossing over, when does it occur? During prophase one, what is genetic variation? Exchange of genetic material or genetic information between homologous chromosomes that result in new combination of maternal and paternal genetic material in each cell, which actually will talk about uh, new gametes or differences in gametes that are being formed. So we have got cause number two, random arrangement of maternal and paternal chromosomes at the equator. We are saying this is true under meiosis. The random assortment or random arrangement of maternal and paternal chromosomes at the equator during metaphase allows different combinations of chromosomes or chromatids to go into each cell. So gametes resulting from meiosis making them different. So in other words, the major cause here is that we are talking about new gametes being formed. So can we believe and understand that random arrangement of maternal and paternal chromosomes, which occurs at metaphase or which occurs during meiosis at metaphase, allows a new combination of chromosomes or chromatids into each new cell. Therefore, new gametes are resulting or are formed, which also makes them different from the parental gametes that we have. So we have got number three, random fertilization. Random fertilization. Random fertilization between different egg cells and different sperm cells formed by meiosis result in offspring that are different from each other. So what we are saying is with fertilization, when it occurs, a gamete, I mean, an egg cell, it might be found in the fallopian tubes there, and then we have got multiple of sperm cells that can fertilize the what? That can fertilize the egg. So what happens is that the process of fertilization, it is occurring through the strength or via the different strength of the sperm cells. The sperm cells have got different capacities or different energy that they have. So what I'm seeing is, or what I'm talking about here is that this one that you are seeing here are sperm cells here. These are sperm cells. So the sperm cells, when they fertilize the sperm cells there, as they fertilize the egg cell there, what happens there is that it is only based on the strength or on the healthiness of the sperm cell. The fittest sperm cell is the one that can fertilize the egg. So in that case, there is no order, there is no pattern, but actually it is actually because of competition, or it is because of the strength and the fitness of the sperm cells, which basically results in random fertilization. Therefore, we also have different offsprings that can also be formed from these different from the organisms, or from reproduction processes that we are talking about. We also have to understand that we have got number four, which is random mating between organisms within a species leads to different set of offsprings from each mating pair. Random mating, actually we are talking about this one, it has to be under uh, uncontrolled breeding, which is normally to talk about natural natural processes. When we are looking at it at a natural process, as a natural process, that is where we have what we call a random mating. Of course, remember we need to understand that mating can be regulated and can be controlled by men, as we look at selective breeding, artificial selection, and all those. But in a natural environment, this we are talking about random mating in a natural in a natural ecosystem, or in a natural habitat, which no human influence is involved. Natural ecosystem without uh, the influence of men, without the influence of people, of humankind. So what we need to understand is that random mating, it results, it leads to different sets of offsprings from each mating pair. I'm sure you can see, as in terms of the mating courtship behaviors in a natural ecosystem, animals they mate in terms of selection of their mating partners. It is also by natural selection, or it is also by the fittest, or it is also by the habitat factors that might interplay, or that might also interfere in that regard. So random mating, it basically results in different set of offsprings that might result, because at stage one, for example, a wild dog can mate with this other wild dog in the second round of pregnancy, or in the second season of breeding. It might also mate with another different type of another male offspring, or male partner. So what we are saying is all those, they also cause a variation they cause variation that we need to talk about. Gene mutation changes the structure of a gene. Also, mutation can also result in what? In new structures of a gene or chromosomes, and therefore the organism's genotype. We are saying the organism's what? Its genetic makeup. Genetic makeup. So, since the genotype influences the genotype, it creates the organism with what? With new different characteristics from one generation to the next. I'm sure this one we are quite aware uh, in regard to these terminologies, the outward appearance, the outward appearance of an organism, that's the phenotype. So the outward appearance of an organism is actually controlled by the genotype. So the genotype influences the phenotype. So it creates organisms with new different characteristics, or new different features. It creates organisms with new different features from one generation to the other. So mutation actually is one other form, or one other way through which genetic what called through which we can also have genetic variation. So gene flow, the movement of genetic material between population. So gene flow, this term, I just want you to take note of it as we said that it is actually a key factor or a key a key factor that affects speciation. So that affects or that results in formation of what of new population species. So gene flow, we are basically talking about the breeding process taking place, which results in the movement of genetic material within or between population species. So the is gene flow if the breeding is taking place within a single population species, which also sometimes that population is different from population 1 and population 2 are not breeding together. So if one population is breeding on its own without also interbreeding with the other population group, we say that there is absence of gene flow, which at the end of the day, it would also cause new species to be formed. So let's just talk about formation of new species. I want us to look at that and understand that is also one key thing that I want you to look at, which I need uh, all of our students or of all of my students here to take note of the formation of new species uh, is the evolutionary process by which populations evolve to become distinct species. So evolutionary process, we are saying population evolve to become distinct species. Distinct species, I'm going to demonstrate them in the photographs or in my through my notes that I'm attaching here. So it occurs when a single ancestral species, understand this, speciation, when a single it is when a single ancestral, we are saying a single ancestral population species, a single ancestral population species splits or separate. It is split or separating into two or more descendant species that are genetically different and can no longer interbreed. So when we have got a single population species that separates into different descendant species that are genetically different and can no longer be able to interbreed together, in that case, we are defining and understanding that a speciation is occurred. Speciation has occurred. This process is key driver of biodiversity, which we also talked about before, leading to the vast array of life we see on Earth, the types, the vast types of life or of forms of life that we actually talk about on Earth. So basically, class, understanding this, I introduced to you speciation by uh the reasons and the causes of what the causes of speciation, what causes genetic variation. We started by genetic variation, so therefore we are able to build our strength into an understanding of what is speciation and what might cause that. So let's just quickly talk about how does it occur. Speciation typically occurs when population become reproductively isolated. So if population species are not able to, we are saying not being able to interbreed, not being able to interbreed together. Therefore, they are reproductively isolated. That is reproductively isolated, meaning they can no longer interbreed and exchange genes. So absence of breeding together means also there is no exchange of genes. There is no, we are saying, we are talking about gene flow that we talked about again there, gene flow. So when population species are not able to interbreed, it means also there is also no gene flow between them. This isolation can arise from various factors, including geographic separation. It can be caused because of geographic separation. which we say that is allopatric speciation, and changes in behavior or habitat used, which can also be what? Allopatric speciation. So we can talk about types of speciation. I can I can name them as types of speciation. We have got what? We have got one. We have got one. The what? The allopatric speciation, or we can say geographic isolation, and we have also two uh, behavioral uh, behavioral isolation. Behavioral isolation, which we can see that these two are actually defined by these terms. We are saying one, allopatric, and also sympatric. These two are defining the first. They are defining the geographic and also the behavioral or reproductive isolation that we are referring to. So let's go. Over time, genetic differences accumulate between isolated population because the population species are not interbreeding, they are isolated. The genetic differences will take place, leading to reproductive isolation. So the key one is reproductive isolation. These genetic changes can evolve. Mutation can involve They can involve mutations, natural selection, and also genetic drift. So what we are saying is these uh, populations that are isolated together, they no longer reproduce together, and then changes which can involve there as a result of mutations, natural selection, and genetic drift. So I've got a classic example of geographic isolation, which is an example of speciation, which was through Darwin's Finch's birds. I'm sure you will remember the Galapagos Islands, where different finch populations evolved different big shapes and sizes. We say the big shapes, and also the sizes which were as a result of the different exploitation of food resources on the different islands. To say this actually explains the type of feeds, the type of feeds, the types of feeds uh, the birds or these birds were feeding on. So the big sizes were showing the type of feeds that each of the different island birds were exposed to. So what I want us to understand is that the Galapagos Islands, ne, the the finch birds, which actually was defined by Charles Darwin, shows a classic example of geographic isolation, which actually identifies geographic separation. So biological species concept. What is biological species concept? A group of organisms with similar characteristics that interbreed with one another to produce fertile offspring. So basically we are saying the biological species concept explains that groups of organisms that are similar, that have got similar characteristics, are able to interbreed with one another and produce a fertile offspring. So we are talking about what? Successive reproduction taking place. Successive reproduction has to be understood in this case. Successive reproduction has to take place. So um, let's talk about geographic isolation in terms of how does it occur again. I mean, we're saying occurs when population becomes isolated But basically, this one I've already mentioned. I want us to look at barriers. I'm talking about continental drift theory. I talked about that. The continental drift is to say the movement of earth masses. We talk about the oceans. We talk about the rivers. We talk about the mountain range. We can talk about other natural disturbances as volcanoes also resulting in or volcanoes or earthquakes, which at the end of the day would also result in what? Geographic isolation. So let us look into uh, how this occurs. So we are saying, as you can see, I can identify that we can have population on the on island A, and then we have got island B there. So what is happening is that this was a single population, but what happens is that individuals of the species are separated from each other. The parent population, this is the parent population or the first initial population, which is in island A, is the original population species that you are seeing there. So the development or the formation of this river separated these two such that the river only flows in the rain season. What used to happen is that these lizards or these creatures that we are seeing here, they used to move across this whole landscape, crossing over or moving from every side of the place to another, because there was a small river that was only flowing in the rain season. So as you can see, these creatures or these lizards, they actually look identical. They look alike. We can agree together that these two population species are identical. They are identical at, we are saying identical original. Originally, they are identical. They look alike. They are the same. There is nothing much different. But as we can see, we are saying this river was not flowing throughout the year. It was actually a seasonal river. Hence, even if when rain season starts, it is flows and then dries, and then the lizards or these creatures were able to move across this place, going either side of the stream. And then what happens is that this occurs now to say the river, the river became big, the river became big, and then before we go there, let me just further explain something here. So it we are saying later stage of complete isolation. Later stage of complete isolation, landscape features have altered over time. The landscape features, they altered over time, they changed over time, and then the river is widened. We are saying the river became bigger, deepened, and flows all year round, resulting in geographic isolation. That is the concept of or the ideal or that is the situation resulting in this. So the river became very widened, it became deepened, and then it started flowing all year round. Then it results in geographic isolation. As a result, the gene flow between the two populations stopped. The gene flow stopped because the two populations were separated. The two populations are exposed to different environmental conditions. We are saying the two populations, which is population A and population B, are exposed to different environmental conditions, and then natural selection now take place independent in each of the two populations. They change genotypically and then also phenotypically from each other. That is one thing that you can see. I want you to see that in the next presentation, you'll see now we are saying they were both grayish striped. That is the original color. That is the original color here, the original color. But as you can see now, we are having this is our A, which is now whitish striped and also with some uh reddish marks that are there. So what we are saying is the river, as you can see, is wider, is big, the river is now big that the creatures cannot cross from to go either side of the stream. So what happens is that speciation is occurred, climate change over time has altered the landscape. The river had dried up and resulting in a meeting of the two population. So this river, it has been like that, but over time, what happened is that a climatic change took place. Climatic change took place, which also causes the river to dry up, and there is now a chance for the population species to meet again together. So climate change over time has altered the landscape. The river dried up, enabling the meeting of the two population species, which you can see now that this river is it has dried up. It actually dried up. So what happens is now we are now having again an effective movement of these, or we can have undisturbed or uninterrupted movement of the two population species moving to either side of the landscape or the other side of the river. They are now able to cross to any side of the stream. So now uh, what we need to understand is that after yes, the river is dried. And if you can see, there is differences in environmental pressure or environmental factors, considering the landscape of population, which we said is B versus what we said is A. As you can observe and you can see here, these two environmental conditions are totally different. As you can see, I can say this one, I can number it to say uh, uh, A, which has migrated from the landscape A. You see it is white. We also have this one, which I can number to say B, which is also coming from habitat B. But as you can see there, this lizard is no longer identical, is no longer the same as that one. What happens here is that there was independent uh, development. There was also no gene flow. Each of the population species evolved separately from each other. In conclusion, I want you to look at this narrative that you should take note of when it comes to what to the question of speciation. Explain how does it occur. It is we are saying a population is separated by geographic barrier and split into two. That is what the scientific explanation of this concept. The two populations cannot meet and no gene flow between the two population species. So I'm saying, given that you are asked to explain speciation, this is the basic narrative that you should give there. So the two populations are exposed to different environmental conditions. They are exposed to different environmental conditions that we are talking about there, and selective forces. The selective forces are the population, we are talking about the environmental factors, both from the habitat and predation and many other factors that are found within the habitat of this and of each of the population species. Then they undergo or they underwent a different selective process. So natural selection works independently on both populations simultaneously. So as you can see, population A and population B, it has got a natural, it underwent natural selection on its own, both of them simultaneously. So the two populations became different from the original population, both genotypically and phenotypically. So we are saying even if the two populations were to come together again, even if they to come together again, they would not be able to interbreed. We are talking about this. The moment we talk about no interbreeding, meaning to say we already have two populations. We are already having two population species that are formed there. We already have two population species and we are not interbreed with each other and therefore would become different species. That's what we are saying. So if you can look at this class, if you can look at this narrative, it actually identifies the entire diagrammatic presentation that I've been trying to show you here. So please understand and take note of this to say that this concept, if ever it comes in our examinations, if ever it appears in the exam, class, nail it, get it right, kill it. I'm sure that you cannot fail that. You are able to do that. You are able to kill it. So what I want you to understand is that even if they are able to meet again after years of separation, they are no longer able to interbreed. That alone results in two population species. That alone would mean that we have got speciation. Speciation has taken place. We have already completed the process of speciation because we have got this population, which I said it is the white population. We have got this population, which is a white one. We have also this population, which is gray black, which is another population species, which is totally different from the first population species that we started as the original population. So I'm sure, like for you, grade 12 life science students at this stage, quite a lot of factors that you can as well relate, different courtship behaviors that are there now. We have got different mating, what you call, it might also even mating times and even feeding behaviors and so forth. In that regard, new population species are formed. I thank you so much for your time and have a beautiful stay. I hope this presentation is gonna make a better understanding and makes you to get new understanding and be empowered in your preparation towards final exams as well as preparatory exams. Have a beautiful stay and all the best times again. Don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and also refer friends and family. Let's cross the river together. Let's do it together. And we go to varsities and many other higher learning institutions and programs together as well. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful stay. Bye.